Hey everyone. So having another exciting introduction to one of the team members for Light Engine Design. We've got Zach here. First things first, Zach, how are you?
I'm doing very well. And yourself?
Fantastic, fantastic. No complaints, hockey in the middle of summer and being a Canadian, we
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
So I guess let's hop into it. The very first start, maybe do you want to lead off with where you went to school, maybe even where you grew up and your first couple jobs out of school?
Sure. Okay. So I grew up in small town Summerland, British Columbia, in the heart of the interior of BC. I went to school at the University of Texas in El Paso. I went down there primarily to play college golf. Unfortunately, got injured and figured that I'd be better off at science as a long-term vocation. So just like every washed-up college athlete, I decided to pursue a PhD in biochemistry. And then from there, did postdoctoral training at UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. They're most famous for having 5 or 6 Nobel laureates running around their campus there, and I was fortunate enough to collaborate with one of them. And my training is primarily in hormone-dependent cancers. And when I was working in Dallas, I was working on a treatment for chronic myeloid leukemia, which isn't hormone-dependent, but it is a horrible affliction that affects small children. And then after that, I more or less determined that I'm probably not overly employable by other people. I need to go off on my own and do my own thing. And so since 2013, I've carved my own career focusing on unconventional fields of research, one of which I got into the cannabis industry, cannabis and hemp, in 2015, as I saw it as the next frontier of medicine, which it very clearly is. And that has led me to the wonderful folks at TLED.
Interesting. Okay, cool path. Just like every athlete who decides to go get their PhD,
Yeah.
maybe one in 500 or less.
No, just me. I'm just the only guy. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what? So you're absolutely crushing it. Weird path, and then you go through a bunch of kind of interesting, I guess, research, and now you're looking at kind of the cannabis industry. So walk me through. But how do you run into Bob? So how do you get involved with kind of Light Engine Design? You're out there, you're looking for new things, and how did you guys find each other?
So when I first got into the cannabis industry, I saw it as opium in the 1900s, where they basically took opium and discovered thousands of natural products that could then be used as pharmaceutical drug targets. So I thought, well, why aren't people doing this research in cannabis? And the simple truth is, it's still a Schedule I drug. Private sector entities aren't able to work on this. Academic groups aren't able to work on this. And so I got into the field. I founded, with a colleague of mine, a testing laboratory in Mesa, Arizona, C4 Laboratories. And then from there, just going to various cannabis and hemp conferences, meeting interesting people, led me to meeting good friends, Adam Jacques and Chris West, who are world-renowned geneticists. And so we started a genetics company in the hemp space together, and led me also to Bob. Bob was running, at the time it was called Tall Trees LED Lights, and that was a subsidiary of TLED. That's now called Curtis Mathis Grow Lights. And I just absolutely fell in love with Bob and his brain. Quite frankly, he is single-handedly the most knowledgeable person in the horticultural lighting space. And he wanted to push the science, and he wanted my help. So that's how I got included there. And so within Curtis Mathis Grow Lights, our primary focus is to produce lights that will yield the world's best cannabis and hemp medicine, because there's a lot of people in this world that depend on that medicine. And additionally, it's important to create that medicine under lights that are good for the environment. So a lot of my other research is in the environmental realm. So this is kind of the cross section between environmental stewardship and medicine of the future.
Interesting. Do you maybe want to touch on, for people that don't really know much about lighting or even cannabis or you name it, do you want to say, maybe the importance of lighting in that space and how much it means and what can be the difference between good and bad lighting and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. So we're all very familiar with the THC, the molecule that's psychoactive or gives you that high. Most recently, we've become accustomed to CBD. We're kind of in this CBD era. And just, for some background, my buddies that I mentioned, Adam and Chris, I mean, those guys have been working on CBD in 20 years ago. And when nobody even cared about it, it was all about THC, high THC. Now, fast forward to 2020, and CBD is in water, and I think they've infused it into pillow sheets, and it's in gummy bears, soap, bath bombs, it's in everything. And the simple truth of the matter is, whether it's hemp or cannabis, that plant generates hundreds of natural molecules, each of which have their own therapeutic value. And so there are other cannabinoids, there are other classifications of molecules like the terpenes, which are responsible for scent and fragrance, the flavonoids, which are responsible for some of the flavoring, but also powerful antioxidants. These are all contingent upon, one, the genetics, and secondarily, the environmental conditions. So if you're trying to produce the most chemically rich, diverse cannabis and or hemp, then you want to be doing it with the best genetics you can find, and you want to put it in the most favorable and facilitative environment that you possibly can. So you want to have the best soil, you want to have the best nutrients, you want to put the best microbial amendments to the soil, and lastly, you want to be using the best lighting technology. And so where we see the current state of lighting in the cannabis and hemp sector is, we have a lot of people growing it outdoors, so they're using natural sunlight, and you certainly get decent results under that. But you get into an indoor setting where you're able to control all the environmental factors and use high power lighting, and the quality is immensely better. And
so give me numbers, just curious. And I think you already used a good example. Give me a comparison, maybe what you've seen or your clients have seen from what is the average outdoor plant give you versus what is an indoor using fantastic lighting, maybe even some of the lighting you guys have developed.
Okay, so if we take your traditional branch stock genetic that takes anywhere from 20 to 24 weeks to mature, you might get a pound of flower out of that outdoors, and you might get a pound and a half, maybe even 2 pounds of flower indoors. Now, that outdoor flower might be 15% total cannabinoids, whereas indoor, you might see 25 to 30% total cannabinoids. So it's literally twice as rich. And basically, the cannabis plant or hemp stores all of its medicine in these little extracellular glass bulbs. They look like little glands that hang off of the plant, and they give it this frosty appearance. Those are called the trichomes. So the higher density of the trichomes you can have on that plant, the frostier it looks, the higher concentration of these cannabinoids and therapeutic agents you're going to have in that material. So, I mean, if you have those plants under high intensity lights with optimized spectrum, as we have with the Curtis Mathis grow lights, and I've got an example here of a small scale prototype that we're working on. But you're just going to be producing plant material that is highly efficacious, and it's going to be a far superior medicine than anything grown under inferior lights or even outdoors.
Is there anything, about your background that you feel like you might have missed out, that keeping in mind someone that might be a potential investor would want to hear about, your background, things you've done in the past, that kind of stuff?
So I've covered it pretty comprehensively. I mean, again, I've focused my research over the years, which has resulted in over 60 peer-reviewed publications, textbook chapters. Probably the one of the things I'm most proud of is being nominated for the Humanity and Science Award, which is an international award that recognizes scientists for their altruism. That's something I was working in the water treatment space and some of that technology that we developed there. So basically, I'm trying to bring that diverse expertise to TLED here, because again, with what we have in Bob and his intellectual assets and the success we've had in selling grow lights in the past, I'm of the opinion if we can continue to be on the forefront of innovation, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with in this sector. And then, of course, the red light therapy stuff is a wide open market. We're very fortunate in that we have professional athletes on our advisory board. And so that's a great way to get the word out to some of these high profile individuals, that this is the new frontier of recovery. So I think there's excellent opportunities for the company for growth moving forward there.
Yeah, no, awesome. I guess kind of final question, at least on my list. What did you see as the opportunity in joining the company? Obviously, you joined Bob. You've talked about you love Bob, you love his vision.
Yeah.
But curious, when it comes to looking at the industry, looking at the company, what did you see and why did you join? What was the, hey, like, I think this could really be the next big thing? What stood out to you as the reason for that?
So quite frankly, being approached by Bob and listening to what he had to say, and then cross-referencing, the technical veracity and making sure that what he said made sense. And then you go and look at the fact that the company had an incredibly suppressed stock price. I saw it as a diamond in a rough, quite frankly. You have a guy here that can basically create anything he wants. He sees the future. He needs a little bit of help to move it across the finish line. And he's already creating, top of the line, state of the art equipment as is, and has great reviews and a great sales track record. I just saw it as, this is an opportunity to get at the basement level of an exciting, growing company and add value. And I think we've had a lot of success together so far the next couple of years. We're just scratching the surface. Again, a lot of these innovations we have in prototype stage. We already have a well-established marketing plan for some of these new things as they come out. We have some new patents that are going to be issued here, hopefully shortly. So I saw it as an opportunity to get in at a company that is maybe a little bit undervalued, maybe a little bit underappreciated, maybe a little bit of an underdog. And I could come in and kind of infuse some of my technical knowledge and my enthusiasm for science and take it to the next level. I mean, because that's what we're all excited about is making a success of this and sharing that success.
Awesome. I think that was a great answer, and I agree with you. I think, and you touched on already, the science is relatively unexplored. You guys seem to be kind of big players in the space. I mean, Bob was talking about some of the projects he worked on, which sound awesome on video, and I'm sure we'll go into more detail there. But I think this is great. I think you guys are perfect timing. Cannabis just improving. You've also got kind of psychedelics on their way. You might see those start to be grown.
Yeah.
So there's some good links there, definitely in growing industries, which is fantastic. I think this was a good intro video. If there's anything else you want to say before we close things off.
No, I think that's about it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Well, yeah, for anybody watching, if there's any questions for Zach, make sure you drop them below. We're going to be doing a ton of videos going forward anyway. So I'm sure he'll be able to give his crazy insight and technical kind of insight on different types of light and why their lights are better and all those kind of things. It's coming. But I think right now this is a great intro. And, Zach, thanks for hopping on.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.